Peace, everybody. Welcome back. It's Jamal Talibo Dula Bay. Today we kind of want to go into like a little brief introduction into like trust law and creating a trust. So one of the things we do know is that after the fall of the Moors in 1492, is that camera on me still? Because I was sitting down, right? So after the fall of the Moors in 1492, they created this. I think it's E. Right? So this trust is what they put mortgages in, the birth certificate in, marriage certificates, marriage licenses, all that kind of stuff. Right? So you got so this trust is what all the Europeans agreed to steal our stuff in. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like if me and you want to take her laptop, we're gonna be like, okay, we're gonna create this contract agreement between us and how we're gonna manage stealing her shit, or stealing her stuff. You see what I'm saying? So that's how they did that. So the birth certificate goes under here, and it's so this trust is used to convert all of our stuff. You see what I'm saying? So this is what the Europeans use to convert our stuff for their administration. So
once you get assigned a birth certificate, everything you own now belongs to. Yeah,
because remember, can you go into my book, right in the back, under the Christian Black Codes of 1724? Because our people, we wonder why we don't own nothing, right? Article 22, it will read, so the Lynch letter, here it is. It's long. Christian Black Codes, Article 22. Maybe was it? Yeah, 22. We declare that slaves can have no right to any kind of property, and that all that they acquire, either by their own industry or by the liberality of others or by any other means or title whatsoever, shall be the full property of their masters. So, can you just go into this real quick? Can you look up the definition of Negro in the Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition? Right? Let me kind of do this.
You said Negro?
Yeah, Negro.
You want me to read it?
Yeah, what does it say?
Negro. The word Negro means a black man, one descendant from African race, and does not commonly include a mulatto.
What else does it read?
Felix versus State 18.
You don't gotta read the law case. What else does it say though?
Term Negro means necessarily person of color.
Okay. So a Negro is a black man, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they both mean color, right? Right? That's what they both mean, right?
Yes.
Now, didn't we already establish that the word color means something's fake?
Mm-hmm.
And the word colored person, there's no legal technical signification to the phrase colored person, which the courts are bound judicially to know. Mm-hmm. So we already went over this, right? Yeah. And I'm only doing this because you're here and you didn't sit in that class. But this When you say you're this, you're orally making a contract saying you're in this status right here. You're saying you're this. This is your status, right? That means you're, so when you speak this, you're making an oral contract with whoever you're speaking to and the universe, saying you don't have to recognize me in law. This is why blacks can't own anything. Not because your skin's brown or my skin's brown, it's because it's literally the words that we're using.
So when you call yourself Negro, nigger, black, you're saying
and remember, Indians fall under this too. So now you get why Indians don't own anything?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we already went to mortgage means, right? Means dead.
So every time you say you're Indian, colored, Negro,
you're
black,
saying you're agreeing by all contract that no one has to recognize you in or at law. Exactly.
Civil
so
mortis.
remember when so they did this. I forgot to mention that they did this in 1580, and then they altered it in 1666. So remember, Moors were expelled from Al-Andalus, which was Spain. We made Spain what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
1492. We already know what happened in 1493. Christopher Columbus and the gang came over. What's up?
Wait, hold on.
All right, so we know 1492, Christopher Columbus and the gang came over to America. They started stealing everything because they've been operating on this. So we have title to this because this is our free national name. Remember, people are connected to the land is the people. So the people from China are what? Chinese. The people from Japan are what?
Japanese.
Japanese. That's the land and the people. Mm-hmm. There's no land called Negro. Mm-hmm. There's no land called black. There's no land called colored. Mm-hmm. And India is someone else's land. Mm-hmm. So, right? If you're in this land right here.
So there's no such thing as an American Indian?
No. If you're in this land right here and you say you're a native German, a native German American, Germany's not on the continent of America. Mm-hmm. So how can you be a Native American Indian if India is in the east? Mm-hmm. And remember, we already established for the record that Indian title isn't ownership either. You see what I'm saying? So these are brands. All of these are brands. Let me erase this. Because this all ties back into this, and you'll see. All of these are brands. They're all brands to denationalize these people. Because remember, your nationality is your political status and your ability to call into force your rights, as well as your ability to manage your own affairs, to own property. So without a nationality, you can't own property. That's Article 22, Christian Black Codes.
This is exactly why black people don't own anything.
Yep.
Can't pass anything down.
Now remember, it's not because our people are dumb.
No.
We're not dumb at all. We're one of the smartest people on this planet. The problem is, 1902, Frederick T. Gates, John D. Rockefeller, their whole mission was to keep us dumb. And remember, we did the video, in the video, I had you go right to Wikipedia. You could do it again. Go to Wikipedia, and you can go on your phone. Go to Wikipedia, Google this.
General School Board?
General Education Board.
Oh.
Right? And then go to the philosophy section. Go to the philosophy. It's also in my book too.
In our dreams we have a limitless resources, and the people yield themselves with perfect docility to our molding hands. The present education conventions fade from their minds and unhammered by tradition. We work our own goodwill upon a grateful and responsive rural folk. We shall not try to make these people...
Hold on, stop. Put emphasis on that. We shall not try to make any of these people, and then go ahead.
Or any of their children philosophers, or men of learning, or men of science. We have not to raise up from among them authors, editors, poets, and or men of letters. We shall not search for embryo great artists, painters, musicians, nor lawyers, doctors, preachers, politicians, statesmen, or whom we have an ample supply. The task we have set before ourselves.
That's kind of.
Okay.
I mean, it keeps going, but
yeah.
their mission was to never teach us anything, because when they keep us dumb, they get to control all our stuff, and they get to put mortgages on us, which are debt pledges, and we keep working this energy to pay off someone whose land it's not.
Yeah, because we don't even know what a mortgage is.
It's a debt pledge. And we already know they're Europeans, right? We know that. We were taught they're pilgrims, they came over here. We know it's not their land. So why are we paying them? Right? It's because we don't know, because we lack the information.
We don't know our own position.
It's by design. Christian black codes, that's this. Christian black codes is a mortgage. It says black people won't be able to own property. That's not ownership, right? Let's go into the law dictionary, just so we can read it for the record, right? Mortgage, and this is Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, right? Of ancient and modern jurisprudence. So this is ancient and it can be used now, right? So it's mortgage. Where is it? Mortgage. So for the record, go to any law library, they're going to have this. Go to any attorney's office, they're going to have this. Go to any judge's office, they're going to have this. Right? Mortgage, a debt. Can you own something if you're in debt?
No.
If you're saying, Jamal, can I buy this off you? I'm saying, yeah, you can buy it off me for $1,000 a year for 4 years. You don't own it until that debt's gone, right? So it's a debt. So already it's not ownership, right? Secured by a pledge of lands to which the legal ownership is vested in the creditor, but of which in equity the debtor and those claiming under him remain the actual owners until debarred by judicial sentence or their own laches, meaning the one who's making the loan is the owner. Or by your own laches, if you make the claim to the estate, meaning you claim the land because you know you ain't Negro, Black, Indian, or colored, you know your home. You know he wasn't taken from Africa over there because this is Africa right here. See what I'm saying? Remember we went to the expatriation, citizenship of the United States, and then it has the name Morocco, so the country is Morocco. You see? Right? And it continues. The foregoing definitions are applicable to the common law conception of a mortgage, but in many states in modern times is regarded as a mere lien, a debt, and not creating title to an estate. Now we already went over that allodial title is the only way to have any type of ownership over anything. You can't own anything if you're constantly paying someone else for it.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So that's Black's Law Dictionary, that's a law. Meaning all lawyers know this, all real estate agents, they're dealing with law, they know this, so they know they're not giving you anything. They're dealing with trust instruments of who's controlling the estate. So part of the issue is we don't have any of our own real estate agencies. When we should really do it like Fidel Castro did, the land reforms, just give the land back to the people, that's the rights of indigenous people.
Yeah.
Where it says we have the right to our land resources back. A right that's free and open, you don't charge people for it.
Yeah.
So why are we going these mortgages?
Yeah.
Because they're de facto. The real issue is our people need homes. That's the real issue. The problem is we still have Europeans on our land. They're de facto. Remember, de facto means they exist in reality, but they're not recognized by law. They're foreigners. They're Europeans. But they claim that we're Negro, Black, color, so we don't know our rights. We don't have our rights. And then they claim to be the real Americans.
Yeah.
You see? So it's kind of like if us, all these brown people, right? We go to China. We tell the Chinese people, oh, y'all yellow. Y'all yellow. Yellow people can't own nothing. And then we talk around, we say, oh yeah, we're the Chinese. Right? And we walk around and we keep beating on them because they're yellow. And then and then the Chinese think, oh, because we're yellow, they don't like us, when we're really trying to steal their land. You see?
Yeah.
And it's very simple, it's just wordy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's very simple. Now I can expand on this, but I want to get to the remedy. You know, the remedy is really what we need to focus on. So if you want to, is the camera good? Camera got all this? If you want to take a picture or whatever. Because remember, it's not, they use the black game to keep us off the knowledge. To keep the motion like, oh, you don't like me because what I look like and that hurts my feelings. When they're really robbing us in a bureaucratic contract way because we don't know how to read. You see?
Okay.
All right. So now, knowing that, right? Knowing that the cesti QB, and we already went over how on the birth certificate it's the all capital letters name. So we're going to go into that a little bit too. Let me see. So we'll go over to, because remember they're calling us this stuff, right? They're calling us a Negro, Black, Colored, Indian to denationalize us, right? Those are the corporate brands, right? Let me just write that down too, to denationalize. All right, denationalize. That's how they're able to own our stuff. Remember, Noble Drew Lee said we kept using those names and principles that delude to slavery. Remember, Christian Black codes, blacks can't own anything, right? That's the slavery, right? So what they did was also with this, with the conversion, it's key for us to not have our identity. Because remember that nationality thing, again, status of state, all that, right? It's also, since all of this is it's a contract, so they're doing it in a legal way, not a lawful way, a legal way, because we're agreeing to it by contracts and stuff like that. So every time we fill out the pieces of paper, oh, what are you? Negro, Black, Colored, Indian, other, what's other? Yeah. that's your way out to say, oh, here's my nationality, but our people don't know what the principles of nationality.
Yeah.
You see? So they're doing it in a legal contract way, right? So this is how they get you. Remember, the birth certificate falls under this, under the acts of conversion. And remember, the birth certificate is really a birth certificate. So when B-E-R-T-H, remember vowels interchangeable. So when the ship goes into the dock, right, they're birthing, and then they're anchored. So there's an anchor attached to you. There's a debt attached to you. That's why it's a commercial bond, right? You'll hear people say it's the bond instrument. And what people really need to do is stop calling it mine, because that birth certificate is being placed on you for conversion to keep us, you, me, my mom, your cousin's mom, in debt. And it's kind of like, let's say we were on a plantation, right? And then the Europeans put the chain and the boulder on our leg, and we start saying, oh yeah, this is my chain and boulder. No, it's not.
I think it says on there, it's property of the United States.
Yeah, and we know the United States is a corporation company, right? So this is to convert your life, remember conversion, convert you into this. Right? Oops. Yeah. As opposed to this, right? So these people right here, the Moors,
artificial persons versus natural persons.
yeah, because remember in law there's two types of person, right? So this artificial person, that's the creation of this. See how that works? You see how this is just making a loop? You see? Right? So remember in law there's two types of persons, and you can just look that up. It's in the law book. He'll say of two kinds, natural and artificial. Corporations are considered natural persons, So a birth in law does not mean what you think it means. A birth means something was brought wholly into existence. Us three can go together. We can join in trust and create a corporation. There'll be a birth of a corporation. Humans beget other humans, right? So birth and beget is different. That means procreated. And the past participle is begotten. You see? So this is what we do when we have babies.
Wow, so you can, instead of saying I was born, I was begotten on...
Remember, in the Bible says the only way to know God's through the begotten son.
Yeah.
That's proof that he was procreated. You see?
Yeah.
And then the Bible let us make man in our image. It's two parents talking. All right. So the Europeans get us with language every day, right? So they creating the artificial person. So this right here, on the certificate that they try to put on me, is this right here. That's theirs. That's like CVS, right? You'll always see them in all capital letters. All capital letters. Because remember, we're dealing with grammar. We're dealing with principles of language. All the stuff that we learned in school, like this is in play at all times, right? Equals what else we got? Rhode Island. And on their official documents, when they're really officially, they're always going to cover their butts. They're always going to do it all capital letters because they know they're a fraud. And they're always going to send you mail in all capital letters because they know they can only deal with corporations. They know this, right? So that, because they always deal with the record. These Europeans are smart. They know divine law. They know common law. Because we're still always dealing with nature's law at all times. All times. And these Europeans don't forget it. That's why they do what they do. That's why in court they say, do you understand? Do you know we're about to rob you? Do you know what's going on? Do you understand these charges? You say yeah and you don't, right? So this is not this. It's that simple. This is artificial. This person, this human being, has flesh and blood. You see what I'm saying? So when you transact business in that name that doesn't belong to you, you're in dishonor. So they own everything. Remember in the Matrix, right? And Morpheus, he had the battery. He was like, they see you as this. Just something to just draw energy off of. That's why we're always paying them taxes, and it's not really taxes. You see what I'm saying? What's up? Oh yeah, let's go into tax. He was on the page. Like, let's just stop right here because we're talking about these criminals, right? Don't most people think they gotta pay the IRS? Don't most people think the IRS is government? Okay, we'll do this again for the record, right? Because most people think, oh, they have political debates. Yeah, the IRS and this, and they're talking about like the tax cut. They don't want to tax the rich. They don't even know that IRS is really an Inquisition Revenue Service, right? They don't know that. Here's proof, right? For the record, because we deal with documents. You know what I mean? I'm not just telling you this just to tell it to you. Yeah. Because if I help you, I'm helping me. You see what I'm saying? Universal law, right? So here's what it is. And I'm like 90% sure I brought it. Yep, here it is. So this is from, if you want to write this down or anything. This is from, right, it has a seal on it. This is from because our people, you know, we always have these opinions about these political things that we don't really know what's going on. So this is from this case right here. What?
This is that Supreme Court case.
Yeah.
Where the government denied having any association.
Well, remember, they're not government.
The
United States Corporation Company, through their attorneys. Because remember, we always got to deal with the human beings, not the. Remember in the Wizard of Oz, the Wiz is just the fake guy, and then the guy behind the curtain, that's the real man.
Yeah.
You see, don't say the United States because the United States can't do anything. The agents acting for the United States. You see what I'm saying? And you name their actual name, right? Where was I? All right, so that's the civil number, and then you can just look up Diversified Metal Products Incorporated versus T-Boat Company Trust, comma, Internal Revenue Service, and Steve Morgan. So here's the what are these guys? Here's the plaintiff, here's the defendants, right? So the United States of America, through undersigned counsel, hereby responds to the enumerated paragraphs of plaintiff's complaints as follows. The United States is without information or knowledge sufficient to form a belief as to the truth of the allegations contained in paragraph 1 and on that basis denies that the allegations, and then it goes to 2, 3, and number 4. So the United States denies that the Internal Revenue Service is an agency of the United States government. Now, so they're admitting the IRS is not a government agency. Don't people think they're paying taxes to the government?
Yeah.
But here's what they're saying. They're not government. Remember, Article 1, Section 8 only says only Congress can land collect taxes. So the remedy would be the IRS is saying you owe them something. You say, oh, according to the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, says only Congress can lay and collect taxes. Now, are you Congress? Or did Congress give you this authority? And if so, can you show me? Because we're supposed to be law-abiding citizens, right? So don't we have the right to know if Congress gave them that power? Right? See? Now, back to point. And then, it's signed by them. You can take a look at this too. Right? Back to point. This person and that person is different. A corporation is obligated by law to pay taxes because it has an obligation to the people.
Yeah.
This human being, what I do, let's say I work for you, right? And I provide you with a service, I have the right to be compensated. Now that's between me and you. I don't have to, that's not called income. Only corporations make income.
So would you be able to call that a trade?
Yeah, it's business. It's compensation for services rendered or monetary gain. It's anything but income. Wages, commission, it's anything but income. But we don't know the difference, so we call it income. So again, or contract, we get taxed. Right? So how do we avoid all this? How do we avoid getting robbed? Because some of us, we still have to go to work and we still have to use that name because we don't have anything else, right? Because we don't know anything else. Now, how do we try to alleviate this? Let's deal with reality. We're attached to the system. We absolutely are, whether we like it or not. I don't like it, but I know what it is. I'm not stupid, right? How do we set it up so our children don't have to be as attached, or if anything, not attached at all? Since they want to combat us with a trust, guess what we do? We create our own private trust. Now, since we know we're Moors, we know we're the heirs to the land, we know we have allodial ownership, we know we're the L's and the Bays, we say that every time. We say that all day, every day. Oh yeah, I'm Aboriginal, Indigenous, Moorish American. What does that mean? Do you know what power you have? That's the Imperium that I always say, the right to command. Because, I have my seal, my family seal, and I put it on the document that I posted, and people were like, oh, I have a 98 number from the IRS trust, blah, 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 and then I was like, yeah, I just wrote in my trust who can use my seal and who can't. They think I went to the IRS. Because they still think that the United States is government and they have any say here when they don't, right? You got to know that if you're an L and a Bay, and you say you're a Moorish American, you say you're Aboriginal Indigenous, that means you know you have power here. Yeah, we're still under colonial occupation, so we still got to deal with that. But here's a way to kind of put a little pot where they can't touch it. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Because that is a private, right? It's private trust, right? So we know that they convert all that stuff through this, to the STUV trust. So let's go into what a trust is, right? Let me just erase this real quick. A trust is pretty much a contract agreement, right, between minimum 2 parties, right? And I go into this in a little bit, like I don't go into too much detail in my book, but I go into enough for you to know, right? For you to know what's up. So you want to read what? Let me see. Let's go to my book. It'll be so much easier if I just go to the thing. All right. I'll just read it. So, trust law, right? It's page 120. A trust is an established agreement that includes specific obligations to be performed by a trustor who is lawfully vested with certain rights and charged with the performance under oath or affirmation to manage the affairs or properties of another, which are established in the creation of the trust, to which the trustor is charged with maintaining the trust for the benefit of one or more beneficiaries. So at minimum, a trust consists of 2 separate parties, 1 the trustee and 2 the beneficiary, right? And then I do this right here. So here's a simple breakdown, right? So I got the grantor. So that's the grantor, the executor, the creator of the trust, right? You got that. And then you got the administrator. Right, and then you got the beneficiary. Right? So that's 3 separate parties, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me see what I have here. The trust normally consists of 3 separate parties. 1, the grantor / creator of the trust. 2, / the creditor, so the grantor is also the creditor. 2, the trustee, the administrator of the trust, the debtor, the one who a debt is owed, so he owes a duty to the trust. That's a debt, right? And then the trustee, the person who the trust is created for. Mm-hmm. Now, an example of this, and so remember, everything is derived from the family. So
is the trustee and the beneficiary the same person?
No, the trustee and the administrator is the same person.
Okay.
These 2 people can't be the same people.
Okay.
Conflict of interest.
Mm-hmm.
These 2 people can be the same people. These 2 people, but not these 2. Conflict of interest. Because then you get greedy. You see what I'm saying? So, back to point, right? So remember when Donald Trump was like, I got a small $1 million loan from my family trust fund, and all these Europeans got trust funds, and we're like, why they got trust funds and all this money? That's how it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. They got it based on our family structure. They robbed that from us, and they've been operating off of it. So this is what, I broke this down in my book, this is what it was supposed to look like, right? As an example. So you got this. You got your grandparent. They created everything, right? They created your mom, so therefore they're the grantor, right? And then you got your parent. So since they're younger, they control everything, right? And then they say, oh, we need advice with this trust, I'm going to seek counsel. You see? Mm-hmm. Or since they're like considered the elders, oh, how would you handle this situation?
Yeah.
You see? And then you. And then that cycle repeats. Family wealth. Mm-hmm. That's a trust. You see? It's a living trust. So it's something you're supposed to be able to pass. Because you know, our people talk about, oh, I want to own a business and be able to pass this down to my children. That's what everyone wants. Oh, that's what everyone desires.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So and then, you know, once this person passes form, then your parent becomes the grantor, and then you become the administrator, and then if you don't have a child or not, that slot is still open for your prosperity. Mm-hmm. You see? Right? And then, so this would be kind of like on a family aspect. On like a lawful thing, right? We'll use the Constitution as an example. So, right, we'll have right?
Wow.
See how that works?
So the people are the grantor, the elected representatives
Who we elect,
are the administrator.
a republic, and then we're the beneficiary. So remember, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they're endowed with their creator with certain unalienable rights. So we're all created with rights. That to secure these rights, governments were instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Mm-hmm. So we're born with rights. To secure them, for the beneficiary, we create a government. Mm-hmm. That's also their job. That's why they all take an oath to it. Right? So back to point. Now, this is also why Noble Drew Ali said, leave all old business in your old name and conduct all new business in your free national name. This is why Malcolm X changed his name. Elijah Muhammad corrected his name. Muhammad Ali corrected his name from Cassius Clay, right? Because these European names, they're called Christian names in the law book. You can look that up, Christian name. That's also what they're using, a part of the SCQV, to control our estate. Remember Dred Scott, right? So-called black man who was trying to claim a right. Mm-hmm. It was decreed plaintiff in error. You don't have any rights if you're claiming to be another man's property. Scott, he was claiming to be Scott's property, the European name, and he was claiming to be black, which means you don't have any standing at law. So what you mean you own property? How can my shoes own my shoelace? Mm-hmm. I own both. Mm-hmm. You see, right? So that you got to correct the issue, right? It's more than they put their names on us because they don't like us. No. There's a legal reason why they did it, right? So they got control over this. Right? They got control over this instrument. So anything that if I transact business in this name, they control that, and I'm in this owner, right? So that's part of this. Right? And that's also part of this. Right? Now, so all of these are connected, right? Mm-hmm. This is how they're able to say, oh, you have to pay taxes. Because we're transacting business in that corporate name. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Now, some of us can't stop transacting business in that name yet, because what the Europeans have done is they made it so we can't survive without it. Now let's go into this real quick, right? Since we're talking about law, and Noble Drawley said he's going to use the Bible to spread the truth, right? Mm-hmm. So let's go into the book of Revelations. What did they say? All right, I want to talk about the beast coming. So Revelations 14:17. And that no man might buy or sell, save that he had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So that's either you use this name or the social security number. So then ask you that, what's your name and social? Mm-hmm. That's the mark of the beast. Not some like 666 on your forehead or, no, it is this. Because remember, they own everything. Remember, blacks can't own everything, so you got to keep everything into context. Because I know, and you got to always remember that it's absolutely connected. See what I'm saying? All right, so some people, because we're dealing with economics, right? It's always like, also in the Executive Order 11490, the Europeans made it a point to put so much economic pressure on our people that, yeah, they see the truth in this, but this isn't a priority because they have to get money to pay these bills. Yeah. But that's also when the rights of indigenous people comes in, where you don't got to pay nobody nothing. But since people aren't ready for that, we'll go into this what you can do if you choose to. Mm-hmm. This is just what I thought of. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So since people still transact business in a name that's not theirs for this, which isn't really money, mm-hmm. The issue is the estate, but we'll deal with what we have to deal with. You see what I'm saying? So they still deal with that because of economics. They worry about income. It's not income. But connotatively, I know what people are saying, right? So you, the human being, create your own private trust, right? Since you, as a door stick man, since that name doesn't generate anything on its own, because your flesh, blood, body is the real energy that really produces things. Mm-hmm. Since you do business in that name for every job you work for or whatever, if you're still studying and you can't take those big steps yet, you can still create your own trust. Mm-hmm. Why not? Yeah. Right? So you create your own private trust. Let's just call it Rise of the Moors, right? Because that's what we did. Yeah. Right. Right. Who has access to that trust?
We do.
Who else?
Who has access?
Yeah, besides me and you.
Our beneficiaries.
Who else?
Well, ultimately, anybody in our family.
So pretty much anyone who we stipulate, because mm-hmm. we created it. Mm-hmm. Just like when they try to say, oh, authenticate this birth certificate for this unlimited amount of money in the Cesta QV, mm-hmm. they're administrating that trust. And you can't get access to it unless you go through their process. Mm-hmm. So what you talking about, you have an interest in some Rise of the Moors estate or property or labors or assets.
You can't.
Exactly. Exactly. So what people do is, I had a conversation with someone, they said, oh yeah, the ens legis is the grantor. How? How does that make sense? How is the straw name any grantor if it can't do anything without you doing it for it? Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, once you create the trust to separate it from that name, these Europeans don't have access to that. Mm-hmm. As an example, I put my whole library in, not this one, but I created my own family one. Mm-hmm. I put my whole library in it. I put my TV in it, because aren't those assets? Mm-hmm. Can't you get something for that? I put the allodial title that I claimed for that land, mm-hmm. that I was digging the pond on. No Europeans got access to that. You see what I'm saying? My PlayStation, that has value, I put the serial number in it. You see what I'm saying? You can put your car in this, the vehicle,
Anything you want.
anything that's an asset.
Documents.
I can put this in it, right? I can get like, what are those things? An engraver, put a little number on it, a little serial number, put that in my trust. That's an asset. Put the camera in the trust, you see? And that separates, so these Europeans don't have access to it through their Trustee because you're not transacting business in that name. You see? And it's all non-tangible concepts. You can't touch that. Because it's a trust between me and her. You can't get into that unless I tell you something. You wouldn't know what's going on. You see? Just like with this. You don't know what's going on with this, with these Europeans and their billions of dollars. You don't know what they're doing. Because it's private. So make your own private stuff. Where you get to control what happens to it. Yeah, we're struggling. We don't really have nothing. But you work in a job, you can get assets.
Yeah,
like all my books. Like that book right there, that's an asset. That costs... This book right here, right? This book. How much do you think this costs? 130 notes. So $130. 130 for this. That's an asset. You see what I'm saying? It costs me more, but guess what? Now, if I have any children, they don't have to pay for it. Now, if I have any children, oh, daddy already got law books because he got it when he was young because he already knew what's up. He was thinking about me. I even wrote that in my family trust. I'm like, even though I can't see you right now, I'm thinking about you. That's how much you mean to me. You see what I'm saying? We need to restore that connection back to, first, our ancient mothers and fathers, so we can even think about our prosperity. Because our people aren't thinking like this. Trust law, what's that? What's the trust? They just think about, what can I get right now?
Yeah, they just pass
Stop worrying about right now, because we're in some deep doo-doo right now. You ain't gonna get out of poverty right now. Europeans are still on our land. Europeans are still stealing our stuff. That's why if you do some research on the United Nations, they're dealing with the Special Committee of 24, which deals with decolonization. Didn't the Europeans colonize America? Because this is going on. You see what I'm saying? You see how it all works?
Yeah.
Isn't it, like as I'm saying it, isn't it simple?
Yeah.
Like,
very.
And it's kind of like our people are arguing this, but they're just calling it racism. When it's not, it's conversion. And it's feudal. So feudal, right? What's that show that Steve Harvey's doing? Family Feud?
Yeah.
So that means it can be argued, right? Right? Whenever we make a claim, it's allodial. That can't be argued. Like if you go to China, are you gonna say, hey, this is my, wait, are you gonna go to some Chinese person and say, hey, you can't live in this house, this is mine?
You can.
That's China. You ain't Chinese. So how can some European come here and say, hey, what are you doing in this house? Because we think they're government. We think they're Americans. We think we're Indian. We think we're black. We don't even think allodially. Dred Scott, he don't even own his own body. You see? Property. You see what I'm saying? So, that's kind of like a little brief. It's not very brief, but it's brief, because we can go deeper.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Into like, even when I was showing you my trust, you seen how long it was, and it's detailed for a reason. No type of confusion. No type of confusion of who owns it. No confusion of what name of the land that we're on. No type of confusion of who can use my family seal. No confusion on what the name of the trust is. You know what I mean? No confusion. You see? So for those people that said, oh, how were you able to write in who can use your seal? Because I know I'm a Moorish American, I got a bay, I know I'm home. I don't need no 98 number from no IRS to tell me what I can and can't do with my stuff. That's how our people should be thinking. Not, oh, I need to go to them to register my trust with them. Like, keep your own family records. It's family records. They don't need to know what you're doing, how much money you're making. They're not even government.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Under what authority are they giving you authority? Exactly.
And they're European. This ain't Europe. And this ain't New England. And this ain't Rhode Island. Watch this, right? Because remember, that SSDQV, right? That's also part of this. Remember 1492, they kicked us out? And then Inter Terra Divina? Right? Right? This is also my book, and Taj has a book on this too. when they talk about coming to America, forcing Christianity on the people, and taking their land. Now, what happened when they got here? I'll give you a little brief history of what happened here in the Narragansett territory, right? So remember, they're stealing our stuff. Remember, stealing our stuff. And because this is absolutely related to mortgages and the so-called in these courts when we know we're getting robbed. Remember, we was having a conversation in your car about how we already know these attorneys talk to the prosecutor, talk to the judge, they drink, smoke, they're all European, they're all rich. It's not racism. They planned for this. They've been planned for this. They planned for this back in the first Crusades in the 10th century, right? Probably even before that, right? Let me see. So, because we got to go into history too. You can't talk about law and not talk about history, right? Because history and law go together. All right. So, this was their plan. Force Christianity on us. Now, don't most of our people think they're Christians? We already know. You know about the Crusades, right? Europeans were forcing Christianity on the people. The Knights Templar, right? We already know who these people are. And if you look at, remember, right? You know Brown University? You know what their crest looks like? That's what it looks like, right? And then the Europeans say, in this sign we shall conquer. And then didn't we just read General Education Board, they want to keep us dumb? And then in the Bible it says, he will, if possible, he'll fool even the most elite. So we think by going to their colleges, we learn something. And everyone who I speak to who has a degree say, I should never did that. Because they're just in debt with no job. This ain't something I'm not talking about stuff our people don't know. It's just I'm expounding on it. You see? Now let's go into this, right? Because we're going to talk about Christianity and how their whole mission was to force this on us. And if we didn't accept it, they're going to kill us. And they say it, they admit to it, right? Book of Revelations, again, Revelations is revealing. Remember, Revelations means to reveal, right? So they're telling you what they're going to do to you. So, because they're dealing with karmic debt, universal law. Nothing's hidden. I'm telling you what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it. And our people just like, okay, and then don't do nothing about it. We march, pray, justice or else, and then do nothing. Book of Revelations 14, and we'll start at number 9. 14 verse 9. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. And I'm not preaching no Lord. I'm just doing this because I'm about to show you the science of it, right? Boom. Number 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exerciseth all power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from the heaven on earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that should make an image of the beast, which had the wound by the sword and did live. Now, also in the book of Revelations, it talks about how Yeshua, which is his real name, not Jesus, had hair like lamb's wool, skin like burnished brass, right? Now, don't they have this beast up there, pale skin with a cut? Yeah. And then they make an image of him and saying he did all these miracles when he's just an image, right? And gave power to life unto the image, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many would not worship the image to be cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast would be killed. Crusades. And don't they say, and then Jesus said this. Wasn't he dead? How's he saying all this? And his real name ain't Jesus. And they got the image up here, like he's like this with the cut. They're telling you. Crusades, they were forcing Christianity on our people. They're telling you. It's been their plan from the beginning. Now back to history here, right? So that's kind of a little... Reverends know this. They all know this. This ain't no secret, right? So Roger Williams... Right? We got Roger Williams Park, Roger Williams University, Roger Williams College, Roger Williams Elementary School, Roger Williams Housing. He was a clergyman. Do any research on him, it'll say he's a European clergyman, he's a Roman clergyman, right? He founded Providence Colony, and it's a colony. 1636, he renamed the land. This land is not called Providence. This land is not called Rhode Island. This land is not called Cranston, right? And then 1638, he founded the First Baptist Church. Right? Ooh, that's spelled church wrong. It's really a German word. Right? Now remember, what happened a few years after this? Christian Black Codes, Willie Lynch Manual, 1712. We know about Willie Lynch, right? You don't know about Willie Lynch?
Oh boy, you gotta read
Take
that.
the mind, leave the body. How to make a Negro Christian. Well, in the Willie Lynch Manual, it's in my book, it talks about how what you do to the rebellious Negro, right? Anyone who rebels, you take him, you beat him within an inch of his life, you shame him in front of everyone to cause fear into everybody. And it also talks about how you gotta bring him to Sunday school every Sunday, right? So Willie Lynch, (1712). Yeah. Shortly after that, now, Willie Lynch, because they were making us into slaves, right? Now, what you need to know is some of the history about so-called Indian wars, what was happening in around the 1600s. You got the so-called King Philip's War, which his name wasn't King Philip. You got the various Powhatan Wars, and then you got the Beaver Wars that took place in the Great Lakes area, right? That was all in the 1600s. So to deal with the rebellious people that were fighting against this, How to Train a Negro came into play, right? Then shortly after that, Christian Black Codes, send them to Sunday school, right? Shortly after that, and this is what this is called. The Great Awakening of 1740. This is when so-called Indians and so-called blacks were now proud Christians. They were saying, oh yeah, we're Christians. Just like they are now. They're just openly saying it. That's that.
Isn't this what the United States military does when they go into different territories? They
because
help the people setting up church.
They set up democracy and they set up church. Remember, was it Roosevelt? He said the United States is the army of democracy. It's in my book. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's in my book. Excuse me. So remember, they came. The whole thing was to force Christianity on us.
Isn't that also against the Human Rights, United Nations Human Rights?
Forcing religion on people?
Yeah, declaration.
The whole thing is to combat European Inquisition operations that's been going on since a long time. That's what the whole thing. That's what the United Nations is. Remember the situation with Cuba? What did Fidel Castro do? He kicked all of the United States corporation companies claiming ownership over Cuba out. Because for the Spaniards to even get to Mexico, they had to go through Cuba first. And then they dismantled the Aztec Empire. And then they started calling themselves Mexicans. Just like they start calling themselves Americans, even though Mexicans are Americans. But they took the Moorish sovereignty too by claiming Americans, right? That's their whole game. Even when they invaded Iraq, they squandered all their museums and stuff like that. And that's talked about in this book. I'm pretty sure this book.
Are you in denial of your answer?
Yeah, and I spilled water on it by accident. But it talks about how when they went, one of the first things they did was steal their history.
Yeah.
What they do here? Didn't they burn books? Right. So anyway. And when we talk about the constitutional law, all of this, the renaming of the land, establishes the jurisdiction over the people. So therefore they can say, oh, where are you from? You say, oh, I'm from Rhode Island. Well, guess what? The name of the land is not Rhode Island. Rhode Island is a colony, a European colony. So when you say you're from Rhode Island, you're saying they have jurisdiction over you. Because remember, your nationality creates that diversity of citizenship. That's Article 3 of the Constitution. So you have no right to speak to me on my land, European. You're from Europe. That's how we should be thinking.
And it says it right on Wikipedia.
What, diversity of citizenship?
Island is a colony.
Oh yeah, because it is. Because remember, just like in the book of Revelations, they have to tell you what they're doing. Or else they have to face Allah. But what's really happening is they're telling us what they're doing and we're just like, okay. And then we want to complain. Allah sees that. That's why no one likes us. Well, they like Moors, they don't like black people.
Yeah.
Because black people, you stomp on their babies and they don't care. They still worship pale-skinned Jesus and they know his name's not Jesus. You see what I'm saying? They know the Crusades came in and started slaughtering people and forced Christianity on us, and they still say, yeah, I'm a proud Christian.
Yeah.
Even though Christianity is not bad, because Christianity is really just codified Islam, but 325 AD, they created the Niceno-Constantinopolitan Creed. They changed his name from Yeshua to Jesus, and there you have it. They're really worshiping Constantine and his mother, not the prophet and all the great works he did. So remember that they use the image of the beast and say he did all this stuff, and he didn't do nothing but conquer you and our people, and they've been doing it for years. See? So, again, this is all relative to trust. So when in these videos, we're going to go over this pretty much every single time. Into Creditor Divina. We're going to go into that. We're going to go into this. This goes into this. Because this predates this. You see what I'm saying? A few years later, now they're proud Christians.
Let me get a close up.
Yeah. And then there was a book I was reading in the library, and it was telling me, oh, do I have it in my notes? Where's my book at? Because when I go to the library, I have a notebook and I write notes with me. I don't think I wrote it down though. And it talks about how Christianity was one of the main things that the Europeans used to take people's land. And it was I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like they made it so they used the excuse that the natives wouldn't consent to Christianity, so that gave them cause to steal the land.
Well, they're still trying to do that.
Hold on.
You don't have to read the whole thing. Oh yeah. I gave them the Willie Lynch letter manual to read.
Yeah, my handwriting is pretty bad, but I can't remember the name of it. It might be in this book right here. The Culture of Native Americans, edited by Christian F. Feast. Hold on, someone's calling me. Can you stop that real quick?
Yeah.
We rolling?
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. So, how does this work, Jamal? How does it work with trust law? He was a clergyman, meaning he was operating off of this to steal our stuff. That's why they honor him. That's why this Roger Williams Park, remember I said at the beginning, Roger Williams University, Roger Williams Hospital, Roger Williams Housing, Roger Williams Elementary School. Remember, they use, as long as we keep using these European names, they administrate it. That's the conversion. Remember, the conversion, can you read conversion in the law book, please? One of y'all? Conversion. It's what's conversion? Because this whole mission, this whole thing, renaming, right? We just talked about how I write small and I just wrote small again, my bad. That's H. I work on my penmanship. All right.
Conversion. Equity, the exchange of property from real to personal or from personal to real, which takes place under some circumstances in
I
the
can't read and spell. I mean, listen.
consideration of law, such as to give effect to directions in a will or settlement, or to stipulations in a contract, although no such change has actually taken place.
So it's an appearance. So it seems like, because if you read the history of Rhode Island, they'll say, oh yeah, the Indians gave them the deed of trust. Well, a allodial title is the only way to own property, so you don't own anything. So they converted it so it seems like they own it, when no transaction, no transfer ever took place. Because remember, hereditaments, land, can't be sold or transferred. A birthright, I can't sell you my right to speak. People of the land, I can't sell you my land. You can rent it for a little bit. Here's your deed of trust. But this ain't yours.
So you can never actually have it.
Exactly.
It's not your.
Now they got our people thinking mortgages, Indian titles, that's ownership. No, it's not. That's the conversion. No transfer of allodial title of ownership ever took place. It's just they're occupying our land, so they're administrating it
But
through their conversion.
is that why they only sell what's on top of the land?
Yeah.
The actual.
Yeah, but they're not even doing that. They're just selling the trust instruments, the deed of trust, the mortgage, because it's all hypothecated. It's all assumed, since they're really selling our assumption that these contracts are real. So they know we're going to put all this energy into that fake instrument because we don't know law, because we don't know how to read it. So they're really taking our energy through it. Remember, they're vampires, right? That's what a vampire does, right? Suck off your energy. That's what they're doing. When rights of indigenous people is our way to put the band-aids on our necks and we don't got to pay this mortgage no more, so stop sucking off of us. Rights of indigenous people have the right to our lands and resources back, right? Now we'll go through this in a video also for the record, because most of our people think that we're black, think that we're from Africa, right? So whether you think you're from Africa over there or Africa right here in America, this still applies to you. Rights of indigenous people still applies to you, right? Inter-American definition on the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. Under number 1 definitions, who is an indigenous person? Let's see what it reads, right? In this declaration, indigenous peoples are those who embody historical continuity with societies which existed prior to the conquest and settlement of their territories by Europeans. They're foreigners. Alternative definition, as well as peoples brought in voluntarily to the New World who freed themselves and connecting themselves back to cultures which they've been torn from. So if you want to think you're black and you want to think you're from Africa, fine. Now, which nation over there do you belong to? You're indigenous. I mean, you don't got to pay a mortgage either. Because we're the same people. We're just separated by water. The land's still connected. You're still an indigenous person. Europeans ain't indigenous here, no way, no how. My grandmother's Cherokee. Oh, really? Prove it. Oh, well. Oh, yeah, because you were $5 Indian. So you bought that to be under that Indian title, which this ain't India, so still this ain't your land.
Yeah.
You see? All right, so let me go back to this. So again, so-called blacks, they're indigenous people, rights of indigenous people applies to you. You have the right to your land, resources back, stop playing these Negro games, right? Am I spelling Dominion wrong? I keep drawing a blank. I'm pretty sure there's an I right here. I'm not the best speller in the world. I do my best though. Do-min-un. Right? So they converted the Narragansett, the name of the land, from Nahigansett.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's how I kept spelling it, but I kept second guessing myself. You see what happens, children, when you second guess yourself? Don't. Right? So under here, the Moors control it. Right? Under here, the Europeans control it. So they have jurisdiction over the land, the people, and everything that happens in there. You see? Once we start calling things by what they are, like this isn't a bench. This is a chair. But you can sit on a bench. You see? This is a chair. This is not Rhode Island. And if you want proof, here's a map. And it says it. Nahigansett lands. You see? And now they've done this with every single one of our territories. So now it's called New York, it ain't New York. It's called California, it ain't California. It's Queen Khalifa's territory, but it's not California. You see? So they renamed the land to get jurisdiction over the people, so now they can tell us what to do. Where are you from? I'm from Rhode Island. Okay, I get to tell you what to do. Just like if we go to China, we're in their jurisdiction, so they get to tell us what to do. Oh, you ain't Chinese? Go home, and we gotta go home. You see? This is why they don't deport so-called black people to so-called Africa. Because so-called black people ain't black. Right? If me and you go to China, we commit a crime, ain't we getting deported? If some Chinese person comes here and they commit a crime, ain't they getting deported back to China? How come we don't get deported if we're from Africa? And if we're from Africa, how come some of our ancient, or some of our ancestors ain't coming back to get us? Because we ain't from there. They know it. Oh, you want to share that thing that happened to you with that Indian?
Oh yeah, I went to go get food from this place, and
the real Indian, not the so-called
Indian
Americans trying to steal the Hindu birthright.
Yeah, Indian from India. He asked me what my nationality was, and I told him I was Moorish American, and he was like he just continued on with the conversation. He was like, yeah, and he told me, welcome home.
Yeah. No, but what did he call you though? He asked you. He said, what are you? What did he ask you? He said, are you a?
Oh yeah, he asked.
Did he say, are you a morena?
Yeah, he said it. Yeah. He said, am I morena?
Which
means
more.
Gave me the opportunity to say, am I Puerto Rican? Which I'm Puerto Rican, but it gave me the opportunity to say, am I Puerto Rican, or show him that I'm woke. So I said, yeah, I'm morena, I'm more.
Yeah, because remember, Borican, which is the real name of the island, got its name Puerto Rico, rich port, because when the Europeans came to steal our gold, the Spanish Inquisition, you know, we already know, like my sister, she has like the gold chain, gold earrings. That's our ancient culture. But it was on our women's bodies to the point where they couldn't take it off. It was soldered on. So they had to cut ligaments off to get the gold off. So they called it rich port. And then the reason why Tainos are so light-skinned is because they were killing off the population to get the gold, so they had to repopulate with the Spaniards. So now they're light-skinned. But they're still Moors. That's why it's called rich port. That's what Puerto Rico means. But it's really Borican, and they're Taino, and they're Moorish. Not Puerto Rican and not Spanish. You see? And that's how they steal their birthright too. Same acts of conversion. Because Puerto Rico is a company. The West Indies is a company. So if you're a West Indian, your property is to that corporation. You see? So, trust law. He was operating on that trust. King Ferdinand, Queen Isabella, entrusted him with the power of, well, not him specifically, but you know, the clergy. They entrusted their clergymen with doing this to us. That's why they honor them. You see? Any questions? Comments? Anything from me?
It's pretty. So, what would you recommend the steps like to do a trust? Like
first, study it.
Start your own trust.
First, study trust, because most people they still think that they need to go to someone else to create something for you and your family. Remember, be yourself. Recognize yourself. I self-law am a master of Islam. Right? Whenever the prophets came, they said, I am the law. Be yourself. You want to create something for your family? Do it. You don't need no European to say, yeah, here's this 98 number from the IRS, and you can do this, and what state are you from, and give me the name and number, the social security number, birth certificate, all that. Don't.
And do you necessarily need an embosser? Can you just
draw? Because right, there's it's called the Canon of Positive Law. You can just Google the PDF, and it has so much information in it, and it goes into seals, right? Because an embosser is just a seal.
Yeah.
The highest seal is the human thumbprint, because we're divine beings. We all know it. So let's start acting like it, right? What's higher than the human seal? And if so, how? Because don't we do everything here? So that's proof that it came from a human being. A machine can emboss something. A machine can, boom, they have automated stuff, just,
Who else is going to get your thumbprint?
Exactly. Yeah. Highest seal. Start thinking allodially. Know that you're God. Know that you're Allah in the flesh. Know that you're the Word made manifest. That's what this is. Yeah. With the embodiment of the all, you know, in the 101s, right? In the questionnaire, it says, what is the closest place you can find Allah? In your heart. That means Allah's in you, right? And then in the Quran it talks about the circle 7 for the Muslims of America. It talks about how we're all a thought of Allah. So we're all the thought of God, Creator, Yahweh, Jah, whatever you want to call it. Call it whatever you want. We already know it exists, right? It's real. You can't deny it. We're all part of that one source, that one spiritual being. You know, we know spirit means breath, but you know, we're all part of that oneness. So since we're all part of it, that means we're it. So let's act like it and create our own trust. I don't need permission from you to create something for my family, even though you're my blood. You know what I mean? Just like we don't need permission from some foreign European to do something for us, because this is our land. We might have forgot for a little bit until Noble Drew Ali reminded us, but you know, now he reminded us. Now he said, "I brought you everything it takes to save a nation. Now save yourself." Since they used their trust to destroy our nation, reparations, repair our nation, let's do our own trust. Individually, because you know, Noble Drew Ali did the whole March Divine National Movement. That's the umbrella, that's what protects us, right? So, and then we got all these Europeans, decolonization, Special Committee 24, Europeans colonized America. It doesn't get any more obvious than that. You know what I mean? Also, because you weren't in the other class, I'm going to show you, I'm going to prove to you using language that we're Moors, right? Not Indians or black. Oh, I knew I should have brought that dictionary. I didn't bring it. The American dictionary, that shows black means pale and Americans one of the various color
That's
names.
in your book too, though.
Is it? Oh, yeah. All right, so I like doing this because it's kind of like you can't deny the truth, right? So on my shirt it says, well, it reads, a true American, right? Moreno, because morena is the feminine. I'm a male, so I'm moreno, right? And then I also include the women. And then on the back I have the flags. And it's all in the A, because the A is feminine, because you know the nation comes from the woman, so woman is first, right? And then it has Moorish American national, so there's a difference between a citizen and a national. So the Chinese people are the nationals of China. If I go to China, I can apply for citizenship. I'll be a Chinese citizen, but I'm still what my bloodline is. See? And then it says Estados Unidos Americanos República, so this is a republic, not a democracy. And then Al-Moroccan, ancient Moabite, Moor. So in the Holy Quran, Noble Drew Ali says the true and divine name of Africa. This is right here. The true and divine name of Africa, chapter 47. Chapter 47 is this, right? So it's in Roman numerals, so this is what it looks like. Chapter 47. Right? What am I talking about? Right? He says the true and divine name of Africa is what? A Mexim. And I've done this before, so I'm being redundant. And then, what's one of the most ancient? I'm asking y'all, so answer the question, please. What's one of the most ancient civilizations here in America?
Olmec.
Olmec. Okay, that's perfect, right? Olmec, right? Now this is important because you shook your head, but these are your people, so you need to know this. Well, I mean you don't need to, but it's very helpful to know this, right? So this is derived from this right here. You see that? Old Amexem, Olmec. You see that linguistically, right? You know, from here comes the Aztec, the Mayans, the Incas, the so-called Puerto Ricans, right? Okay. Boom. You can see Mexican, right? Mex, right? Mayans, right? So remember, this would be the root word. So this is the divine name of Africa we're talking about. Okay, so let's take this right here. This.
Hi.
Welcome. You see that? Simple, right? Now, you know, and then I know you've seen this already. You missed. Don't even say nothing.
I just got
I know.
I just got
All right, she's a Sagittarius, I'm an Aries, so you know how we get down, right? All right, so
It's gonna be like moving on from basic.
and then Noble Drawley says, you know, we're descendants of the, what is
The
that?
definition of free white persons. Did you still want that?
Oh no, I wanted the American one from the American Dictionary of the English Language.
That's where that sourced from.
Not
That's
free white
from-
person.
That's oh no, I'm sorry.
That's the law dictionary. Look at you. All right.
That's from.
I'm
that's,
telling you, all right, hold on.
that's
Let me give him this lesson. I know what that's from. I got the paperwork too. All right. All right. So this right here. This means descendant. So we're descendant of the Moroccans, right? Now, vowels are interchangeable. We know that, right? Vowels are interchangeable. The study of this process is called morphology. So if you want to write that down. You know, when we were younger, we seen the Mighty Morphing Power Rangers, and they say it's morphin' time, and then they change. Morph means to change, right? And then ology is the study of. That's how I, you know, like, hey, break it down Barney style, right? In the military, we say break it down Barney style. That's as Barney as you get, right? So that's the study of it. And then the action is this. Transport, like transgender, transportation, trans whatever, to change the letters, and then that makes it an action. So you're changing the letters, changing of the letters. You already know vowels are interchangeable. So you drop this L, you drop that C, right? So you got this. The O changes to an E. The O changes to an I. Salute.
Thank you.
You got American. And the reason why this is important is because in that dictionary that I knew I should have brought, that I didn't bring, it says American is one of the various copper tone natives found in America. Now look at your skin tone. Don't you look like a penny? Okay. Also why this is important is because in that same dictionary, right, in this dictionary right here that says we're one of the various copper tone natives found in America, in that same dictionary that says Americans are one of the various copper tone natives, it will tell you in that dictionary that the word black is an adjective, meaning it's not a noun, so it's not a person, place, or thing, so you can't be a black person. It's a descriptive, meaning it can describe what you look like, right? So this isn't a black, this is a sweater. You can describe it as black, but it's not a black. This isn't a white, this is a board. It looks white, so you call it a white board. You describe it with the white, with the word white, and then you identify it with the noun, which is board. They'll tell you that black means pale. Now look at your skin tone. Are you pale? Well, the Europeans are pale, so they're the true black people. So remember, with the conversion, they're stealing our identity so that they can control our stuff. They're using words. So it's important to know that you're an American. They're not. You see? Right? So boom. And more. Right? So you see the same root word, right? M-E, M-O, M-E, right? That root word is mu, and it means water. And if you read any type of, if you read about the Egyptians, so-called Egyptians, right? And that area was called, at one time, right, tomorrow. We already know we're the ancient sea-fretting people. So we've been traversing the waters since forever. Thousands of years ago BC, they're talking about our people sea-fretting. They're descendants of these people. We're all descendants of these people right here. They don't want us to know that. That's why they always point us to Egypt. But guess what? Look who Egypt is. See? And then in the Circle 7 Quran, Noble Drawley talks about the dominion of the Moroccan Empire. He specifically says Egypt and then West. You see? So again, we're still dealing with trust. Still dealing with trust law. Because they have to make us into not the allodial possessors. You see? by us claiming those names that dilute slavery. Questions? We good?
You just explained slang in a...
Slang? Connotative linguistics?
Yeah.
What slang did I just explain?
No, I'm saying it's like I relate it to slang.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Also, you know, the Europeans that have the Star Spangled Banner talking about bacon and cheeseburgers, they say America, right? Right? They do that, right?
Yeah.
They say America. Guess what the ancient Berber word for Morocco is? Now, I might be a little bit off, but it's something like this. Actually, Google it. You're making me laugh. All right, hold on.
I'm gonna need you to be correct, okay?
Shut up. I'm being as close as possible.
No,
right?
you need to be on.
See, now you're making me second guess myself, and I don't like doing that.
Well, you shouldn't, because you should know this
Something like that.
for facts.
No, you're
We're
right.
Speaking about facts. So
No, I know
let's
you're
go.
right. See, this is why I didn't want her here. Nah, I love it. Actually, I think I have a screenshot of it on my phone.
Or what about America when they spell it with the KKK?
It's because those people are dealing with emotions.
I know that. I'm just saying. And you didn't even break down like how allodial is the only like actual true title. Anything else that
Late, right?
No, get her a Sharpie.
Oh, yeah. Here.
I'll get up there with you.
Hold on, let's see.
Just saying. How you gonna like?
Oh, yeah, I got it.
Over it.
I got it.
Yeah.
Correction, see, I can admit when I'm wrong. I can tell you I don't know everything, right? I got this. Here it is right here. This is Berber. And they got little dots under the R's. Or Marrakesh, right? So when these so-called Europeans say America, and they fly the Star Spangled Banner, oh, you're talking about Morocco, aren't you? Look, talking about Morocco. See, you're talking about Morocco when you say that. Since we're talking about slang, these Europeans say America, oh. So you know this is the Maghreb Alaska, you know that, right? Now, what else? What did you say I didn't go to? Because I went into a loaded title. You're late.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I just was informed on that. So.
You know, any questions from you?
Sorry for my overstepping.
It's okay. Any questions?
Questions in regards to what?
Anything. Because we went over. Is this film still rolling? Because I don't.
Yeah.
All right. Well.
We went over trust.
Yeah, we went over trust. We went over the Intercater Divina, like you know. Because I was trying to tell them, like, I don't know if you've seen it on my Facebook. Someone asked me how I was able to use the embosser and for my seal, and they said they used the number 98 from the IRS to get their trust. I'm like, well, who's the grantor of the trust? Are you the grantor? They said, yeah. And then they said, oh, correction. The ens legis is the grantor. I'm the administrator. How can the artificial person be the grantor of anything if it can't do anything?
And then that's still a fucking government instrument. So.
Yeah,
So
and they're not government.
How are you trying to separate yourself if you're still trying to use it?
Exactly. So my point, the point I made was separate, make your own private trust and get that as far away from the corporate instrument, as far away as possible for your children. You might want the gold now, but you ain't getting the gold now. Set it up so your children can get the gold later. And then you still win because you're connected, you see? So that was the main point of that. Yeah, you already know because we've been studying. So we can kind of, how much time do we still have left? Because I kind of still want to go into that, what we originally planned.
If you're gonna start something different, hold on, let me stop it.